Hi, everybody. I'm Lynn Petrek, Senior Editor at Progressive Grocer Magazine, and welcome to Top Women in Grocery. It's a podcast in which we spotlight extraordinary women with interesting lives and amazing careers and who really, really support their communities, their colleagues, and their friends and families in an effort to move our industry forward. Today, I'm so excited to be talking to Kate Kowalzik. She is Director of Brand Management and Creative at Giant Food. And Kate is what we affectionately call a GenNexter at Progressive Grocer. She is a winner of one of the winners of the 2023 Progressive Grocer GenNext Awards. And on top of that, she was selected to be out of that entire class to win the inaugural Andy Jump Educational Award, which was announced and recognized at our recent Grocery Impact event in Orlando. And that award was named for the late Andy Jump, who was Vice President and General Manager at Inmar Intelligence. Kate will use the award to continue her education at the Brown School Professional Studies Leadership and Performance Coaching Program. A little bit more on Kate. She spent 13 years at Ahold Delhaize across several roles and with many functions. She started as a circular designer at Ahold Delhaize and then moved up to marketing specialist and then regional marketing manager for Giant Martins and senior brand manager at Giant Food. She was promoted to marketing director in 2019 and is currently responsible for the ownership, development, and evolution of Giant Food's brand position, which was redesigned in 2022. She oversaw the extension of that company's 5-year brand campaign through 2 evolutions, and under her leadership, her team has doubled. This year, as 2024 gets underway, Giant Food is set to introduce its most disruptive campaign with a strong local platform, and we're going to hear more about that in a little bit. So welcome, Kate.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to get into this cool topic of brand development. And you've been really busy in here. So I guess to kick it off, being a local grocery brand is something to really hang your hat on in today's competitive environment. So why do you think it's important to think analytically about a brand as well as sentimentally, emotionally that, we often kind of think about when we think about brand positioning?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you again. And, being a local brand, it's certainly a special title. And we know that many shoppers have a misconception of what that might mean for organizations like ours. Giant Food goes back more than 87 years in DC, and we've always had really strong local ties to the community and our customers. So when we say local, we're really identifying ourselves as a local connector with corporate responsibility to our community. Our industry is incredibly competitive, so naturally we're tracking both qualitative and quantitative metrics. But for branding, the emotional connection with shoppers is always so imperative. We know it's how you build trust, it's how you create brand loyalists, but it takes time and it takes a lot of consistency. And how someone feels about your brand is incredibly hard to track and measure, right? Mm-hmm. So we spend a lot of time actively listening to our shoppers. We seek to understand what matters a lot to them. And we hope that we bring authentic messaging to our communities. It's something that only a hyper-local brand could really do like ours because we live here and we work here. And so we truly embrace our diverse community, the people, places, the background. It's really an identity for the DMV. And it's important because it allows people to feel connected, represented, and celebrated.
And you use that word connect a lot. So it's you can connect on so many different levels. You can connect digitally, we connect, interpersonally. So that's a big word and an important word.
Absolutely. It's so much a part of what we do as a brand.
Absolutely. And being a local brand, you mentioned that how being a hyper local brand, you have strong relationships with local suppliers. So how exciting and effective is it to create storytelling around those products and those relationships? And could you maybe share some examples of video and social messaging and how that brings branding to life and stories to life for shoppers?
Yeah, being a storyteller is such a privilege. I mean, we meet so many amazing vendor partners and just people out in the community. The associates, local artists have become a lot of our partnerships as well. And so we've been doing these video series now for over 5 years. We've continued to adapt and add new storytelling elements. But we really focus on the local providers and their unique stories. We talk about their connection to community. We talk about, there's that word again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
sustainable efforts is a really great story to tell. The transparency in their sourcing. We feature a handful of diverse suppliers and companies that are maybe in the startup phase. So it's really great to hear some of their challenges and the things they have to overcome in order to get on the shelves for major retailers. Some of the recent brands that we've partnered with the Frozen Farmer. We partner with a lot of local farmers like Pfeiffer Orchards, Big Featherbell out of DC, Old Busthead Brewing out of Virginia, Michelle's Granola out of DC. A lot of really amazing up and coming brands. We've also, as an organization, started to hold an annual local vendor show here at our corporate office. It's a great opportunity to invite new businesses to come and showcase their products and be able to start building relationships with them. Over the last year, I'm really excited to share. If you haven't heard, we've partnered with Ben's Chili Bowl and Lido Pizza, which has been an amazing partnership. Both of those brands are iconic to this region. They were spearheaded by Cindy Volk and Donna Soros in our merchandising department. If you're not familiar, Ben's has a long-standing reputation in DC. They have rich history here. Lido is part of everyday life in Maryland. It's their go-to pizza place. Really interesting square pizza with, square cuts instead of your traditional round slices.
Almost like our Detroit here. Yeah.
Everybody has
that
local way of doing things, and Lido is for Maryland. So we sell their products now in our stores. Ben's Chili Bowl is in all 165 of our locations. Lido is still kind of rolling out in the rollout phase here, but we have both fresh baked pizzas and take and bake. And those partnerships really help cement the local positioning of Giant Food. But it also, the part that I love so much about it is bringing beloved brands that our customers already love into a retail location so that they can get it at any time.
And that has to be fun for you to dig into the story. Sometimes we think the stories write themselves because they're so compelling, but it's got to be so fun for you and your team to dig into the stories, to share them, because consumers will get excited about it. So is that fun for you too, to kind of learn more?
It's so much fun. I mean, everybody we've met has been so kind and personable and just very gracious to have the opportunity to share their story and to get the word out about their products. And it's really amazing to just build those relationships over time. I've been with the company a long time. There's some brands that I've worked with for over 5 years, and you start to really have a bond with a lot of these partners, and it's really special.
And I bet some of the feedback you get right away from social media from your shoppers, right? So, I mean, I imagine that engagement goes two ways, where you hear back from the shoppers, I can't believe I can get this at your store.
Yeah. We do a lot of social listening. Yes.
Yeah, I bet.
Feedback from our shoppers is important in everything that we do. You talked about metrics earlier, understanding sales numbers and growth numbers. All of those things are important, but understanding how the customer feels and how they're reacting to the things that we're putting forward is really important as well.
And, you talk with your relationships with suppliers, and we talk about your relationships with your team. And one of the things that struck us when we were evaluating the educational award nominees this year and the GenNext awards was how collaboration is really a part of your leadership style. And switching gears here, how do good leaders, in your opinion, foster collaboration kind of across functions, across the board? What's your take on that, Kate?
Yeah, Lynn, I love this question. Thank you so much for bringing it forward. Collaboration, I feel like, can sometimes be used as a buzzword, right? And a lot of people want to say that they're collaborative. And I think it's something we have to intentionally work on. So it's not something that you can say, I'm good at it today, but I'm done. I don't have anything else to learn. We all do, right? We all need to keep growing in this area. So I actually, I spent some time thinking about this one, Lynn, and there's 3 things I want to bring forward that I think leaders can bring to the table to help foster collaboration across teams. And the first one is really around active listening. And so when you're in a position with other teams, to really listen to understand and give the platform to others, right? Speak less ourselves and really give the voices in the room a chance to be heard. A lot of times we listen to interject our own opinion. We listen to make a point, or we internalize everything that's being said. And so one of the big things that I would say is get present when you're in these opportunities. Clear your mind, stay focused, and listen to understand. So that's the first one. The second thing I would say is around the types of questions that we're asking to really dig deeper and to truly understand where and why and how people are thinking about the things that they do. By asking better questions, we can get into deeper thought leadership. We open the door for more explorative conversation. And so I think it's incredibly important. And one of the easy tools that I think leaders can bring to the table that I'm actively working on myself is to remove why from our vocabulary. So no more why questions. When you ask a why question, a lot of times the recipient becomes defensive, right? They feel like they have to defend whatever you're asking about. And so instead of saying, for example, why would you do that? Mm-hmm. In a neutral tone, without, with complete sincerity, you could say, can you share your thinking behind those choices? You get the same answer, but the recipient doesn't immediately go into a defensive space of, well, why would you do that? Why would you think of it that way, right? And so it opens up for better psychological safety in the conversation. So both the act of listening and powerful questions can really help us encourage others to speak up and to share without feeling judged, without fear, behind whatever they might say next. So those are the first two.
I like that.
Thank you. The third one here I would say is to do an audit. So who are you collaborating with? If you find that you're collaborating with the same 5 people or the same one team, I would encourage leaders to branch out. Make sure that you're bringing more voices into the room and that you have the right representation when you're collaborating. So look around who isn't represented in the room and make sure that you're bringing somebody in. Adding diversity of thought, background, experiences often results in stronger outcomes. And so those are the 3 things I would encourage leaders to bring to the table.
And that is great, talking about active listening. And some people aren't always, maybe that you're collaborating with aren't necessarily comfortable getting their opinions across, right? So it's kind of drawing things out of them too. And I love the idea of opening that up to others, especially those who might just sometimes be quiet and you think they don't have anything to say and they're waiting to be asked.
Yep. Or they're thinking, well, nobody else is going to ask that. But most times we know other people are thinking the same thing. So
exactly.
to create a safe space to speak up is really important.
I love that. I love it. And I like the idea of, not framing thing with a why, because that's such a thing we've done since we're kids. Why? Why are we going here? Why are we doing this? And we're kind of like positioned, in our whole lives to ask that. But what a way to reframe that. That's great.
Yeah.
And also, another thing we talked about, your passion when we were reading the entries this year for the awards was making a difference in the industry. So I guess, again, on a broader level, how would you describe the current culture within the general grocery industry? And what are some of your own top line goals for rebuilding the modern corporate culture, which is marked by burnout in a lot of areas anyway?
Oh, yeah, burnout. What a powerful word. We could probably do a whole separate podcast around burnout.
Seriously.
So there's a lot to unpack there. I would say the first part of the question, right, is around the current culture within grocery. Mm-hmm. We are under a lot of pressure. Whatever retailer you're working for, there's been a dynamic shift between how customers are shopping, who they're choosing to shop with. A lot of it stemming from, inflation. A lot of people are shifting to low price retailers, and they're gaining market share. And it's certainly something that a lot of retailers are focused on. They're struggling with it. We're all fighting for the attention of very similar shoppers, and our market is incredibly saturated with options for customers. And so I would say, the current climate, I think, for grocery is just very convoluted, and it's very stressful. That stems into then what it's like within the corporate culture, right, for associates. And we still, coming out of COVID, people are battling this balance between, do we have remote work? Are we in office? Is it a flexible schedule? That is still weighing on a lot of businesses. And there's also pressures to hit numbers that were either pre-COVID or during COVID. And everything has shifted so dramatically, right? And the economy is just very different than it was before. And so there is a sense, I believe, of pressure. We're in a new year. Hopefully there's new goals, there's new expectations that can really reset. But when I think about the modern corporate culture, I love how you talked about that. there's very much, well, I'll go back to the connection word, right? I think a lot of it comes down to treating people as human beings and
Like
really
the
just
back to the golden rule, right?
rule. It seems so basic, but truly understanding that people have lives outside of work, right? And understanding that we're all carrying around a very heavy load within work, within family, friends. Everybody's dealing with something behind the scenes, and to allow for grace for a lot of people, I think can go very far. At Giant Food, we're leaning in very heavily on a culture of care. It's very important to us that people feel cared for, whether you're a cashier at the store or you work in a warehouse or in the office. We want to be able to provide opportunities for them. And so one area of the modern corporate culture I think is important is really investing in programs for continued growth. So making sure that there's still training and courses, continued education. It could look like cross training or shadowing opportunities and formal mentorship. Being able to invest and truly care about the associates, I believe, is incredibly important. That's something at a corporate level. But then for leaders, right, bringing that collaborative mindset to the table can absolutely help in this area as well. The more leaders that you have that are encouraging and grooming associates in this way, we start to create a broader culture that's really impactful. And then being human, we're not a family, right? I know that's kind of the cliche of like, oh, we're a family here, but you're not. And I think that the modern culture is moving away from that and understanding that the work-life balance is incredibly important. To your point about burnout, being able to support individuals in and out of the office.
And grace is such a good word to use there. Going back to the golden rule, going back to grace. It doesn't mean that we're not going to achieve our goals. It doesn't mean that we're not going to try as hard as we can to get those goals. But that grace really kind of opens up your mindset again and injects a whole new dynamic into it by giving you that room for grace. Allows you to fill that room with some other important things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got is a hyper local brand. You can really differentiate yourself with that too. And I think the storytelling plays into it as well when we go back to that, because it humanizes it across the space.
Absolutely. It's a great word.
And then, you probably get out into the field a lot, I think, is some of the, when you talk to the partners and the suppliers and the customers. So what are some of your favorite type of community interactions, Kate, when you're out there?
Yeah, this is a fun one to kind of ruminate on, because I think from a marketing perspective, and because we're storytellers and because we're really learning a lot about our vendors and our partners and the shoppers, you end up hearing a lot of really amazing stories.
I bet.
We have been doing local talent searches for many of our campaigns now over the last couple of years. This past campaign in 2023 featured all real local shoppers. The campaign that's launching in 2024 also has real, authentic local shoppers.
Okay.
We partner with artists and influencers. And so for me, being able to ask questions and just hear their background and hear their stories, really special. So for example, last year, we met the Jefferson family in Virginia. This individual, his name's Rollin. We actually have his story out on social media. He tells us about how his parents met at Giant Food in 1981.
Okay, I love that.
So heartwarming. And the way he tells this story is just absolutely beautiful. His mom was a cashier. His dad was a customer. He would come in and actively was pursuing a date with her.
I love it.
It's beautiful. They've been together for 39 years, and it's so special. He even says something like, I wouldn't be around if it wasn't for Giant Food. It was just
kidding.
Absolutely adorable. And so we loved being able to tell their story. I loved hearing it, but then being able to share that more broadly was really special for us. We also, in the same search, met a woman, Diane. She's a very proud Washingtonian. She started really focusing on her health journey for her and her family. And she connected with our team of nutritionists, our healthy living team. And she started to take the knowledge that she learned through her healthy habits to other women her age, and really started to build a community where she could share what healthy looked like for her and her family, encourage others to have a healthy lifestyle as well. And it was just absolutely amazing. Her proud heritage of living in this area was really amazing to hear as well. So those real shoppers being able to just tell you these stories is something really, really special.
Yeah, and you think about all the people that come through your stores on a daily basis. How many of them have such cool stories? Because there probably are so many of them that have really cool stories like that. So you're going to be busy.
Yeah, well, and I actually I started as a cashier way back in the day,
kidding.
and I absolutely loved talking to shoppers. You can learn a lot just by being friendly and chatting with people, and it's quite lovely to hear people's lives and that they're willing to share them with us.
I mean, and again, that's the art of small talk, right? I think so many times we're all rushing around so busy and we lose it, but there is a real things we can learn from the small talk, and it's the really short interactions we have with cashiers, like you said, or you just kind of across the store if you're asking somebody, how in the world do I pick a good avocado? But there's so many touch points to get those stories out.
Yeah, and you can make someone's day just simply by being a nice human. It's so lovely.
I like that. That'll be on my New Year's resolution this year. Listen more. And you talked a little bit about the 2024 campaign. I'm so excited geeked out to learn a little bit more about this. So can you share any sneak previews from what makes it disruptive, Kate?
Yeah, wow. I want to geek out as well, Lynn. I'm so excited about this campaign. I think to understand why we describe it as being disruptive, you kind of have to understand where we've come from, right? Mm-hmm. And so we have a longstanding reputation. What we know from our shoppers is that Giant Food is dependable, they're trustworthy, traditional, which are all good words, right? Mm-hmm. That really creates consistency, and people know that they can come and get what they need, and it's safe. But we have learned that we lack a little bit of excitement, and it tends to be a little dated, right? Okay. And so it's been a focus for us for a while. We've had a lot of conversations over the years of how do we bring this to life in a way that really refreshes our brand and, like I said, is disruptive. How do you stand out when we have such a competitive market and everybody's buying for the same shopper? And so the new campaign actually launches this month, Lynn. Awesome. It's very exciting. It's coming live very soon.
Okay.
We partnered with a brand new agency. So this is the first campaign that we're doing with very fresh perspective.
Okay.
They've really understood the local roots, what it means for Giant Food. They understand our community, and what they're bringing is a new sense of energy and connection to our brand that we've just never had before. So what you're going to see is an immense amount of energy. It's authentic. It is hyper local. It taps into the rich cultures of DC and Baltimore and surrounding areas. We feature real shoppers. There are local artists, from poets to dancers to step teams and drummers.
Wow. Okay.
We shot the way that we did production with this. It was about a week-long production, and we were all over the Mid-Atlantic. We shot in Baltimore, in Graffiti Alley. We shot downtown DC. We were in Alexandria. We were all over the place,
in different areas. Those are unique, each one. Mm-hmm.
Unique across the area, but all very special to what it means to live here and be from the DMV. But also, if you're transient, if you've lived here for 5 weeks or 5 years or 50 years, this campaign will resonate with shoppers. They're going to see a little bit of what it's like to live in this area and be celebrated for it, and how we are able to be a part of that great community.
I love that. And so is that going to kind of launch across your channels, or where are you telling that story? Especially, we're very kind of layered now where we tell our story. So where can people find more out about this, Kate?
Yeah. Everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. Mm-hmm. Anytime a brand launches a big campaign, they will typically push it out pretty heavy at the beginning. That's kind of industry standard. So what we've done here is we've really taken over from a mass media perspective. This will be live on our TV, radio. If you watch any streaming services like Hulu or YouTube, there will be content out there in support of this. Our social media obviously will have additional storytelling on top of the commercials that we'll run. Mm-hmm. And then what this also unlocked for us was not just a campaign that's going live, but it's also a very new brand style guide. So everything that goes to market, whether it's a sign at the oranges in the store, to social media, to the TV campaign, it is going to look and feel different for our brand. We really embrace our purple. Our purple is
That's
really
right.
strongly our brand color. So you will start to see that more prominently across all of our channels and all of our communication. But you'll also start to see more textures, more collage-like approaches to our creative.
Okay.
And it just, again, creates that energy, whether it's a flat sign or it's a video, you will feel energized by the material that's out.
And a lot of work goes into that, picking the right use of color, and it's that vibrancy that's got to be consistent across the board. That's no small task for you and for your team. So I would imagine this has kind of been in the works for a good chunk of 2023, Kate.
It has been, and it's been incredibly exciting. Being able to think about not only how we launch this externally for our shoppers, but also how we start to embrace it internally from an associate perspective, and what this means for how everybody comes forward with their work, right? That we have permission to have fun and celebrate what it means to work and live in this area is really unique and special. And it's something that I don't think I've seen from other retailers in the grocery industry.
And people will be able to see that in store as well. I mean, you talk about the associates and engagement there. So I assume at the store level, you're going to be able to kind of see that across the store, physical store too.
Yeah, absolutely. What if you go to a store in Crofton or if you go to a store in downtown Baltimore, they may feel very different from each other. But what's so beautiful about this campaign is that we're celebrating each of those cities. So 165 stores means 165 communities that all get to show up as themselves. And that's part of the campaign, because it's all about being authentic and celebrating the city that you live in and the culture that you bring to life, even in these, again, hyper local areas across our footprint. It's a really amazing way to spotlight all of the different ways and what it means to live here.
And ultimately, boy, that sure resonates with shoppers because they see their own personal experience reflected in that. So what a way, we're going back to the connection, but on that store level, that's their experience as well.
Absolutely.
I love that. And so what about your own 2024, Kate? And you've got a lot of things going. This thing's launching in the early part of 2024. You're working on a new campaign. You're going back to school. So what are some of your goals for the year? I won't necessarily call them resolutions, but what are some things ahead for you?
Well, perfect timing, right? I was actually I spent the last couple of weeks here working on some goal setting. So this is great timing. I think, when I think about having a larger team, we are still in a grooming situation right now where we are coming together and we are identifying how we all work together. That's something that, we continue to work on. So this continuous growth and partnership, staying intentional as a leader is something that I think is incredibly important and definitely one of my goals for the year. I want to make sure that I'm continuously giving my team a voice and that they have autonomy to do their work however they feel is best done, and trusting them is very important as well. With our campaign, it's incredibly exciting. We've done 3 tests now prior to launching. So we have a pretty good understanding of how the market should react to it. But anytime you launch something this big and has a lot of impacts, we are going to continuously be measuring the results and the impact on the broader business. So staying nimble and being able to pivot where we might need to keep pushing the brand forward will absolutely be a goal. And then, around the coaching and the coach-like leadership, I think this continuous curiosity is something that I think is incredibly important. And you can bring that into your leadership style. You can bring that into collaboration. A lot of the things that we talked about, stay curious, right? Ask the powerful questions, active listening, choose your words, eliminate the why, all of those things come into play. And I think that that's incredibly powerful. So if I had to sum up my goals for 2024, it's to really continue to lean in on this growth mindset, keep learning. There's resources out there, right? It's podcasts, there's books, there's webinars. There's so many things at our fingertips that we can keep growing and learning and becoming better leaders. And I'm so excited to see what happens in 2024.
That is fantastic. And I don't think you could have summed that up any better and inspired our audience anymore. So thank you so much, Kate, for joining us today. I loved hearing about it. I want to see what you're up to in the next year. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of the other things you're going to be doing through the year and how you're passing, even as a young GenNexter, you're passing your knowledge on to those even younger than you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I'm very excited, and I appreciate the chance to share this with you.
Well, thank you so much. And to our audience, for more information about the Top Women in Grocery podcast, please visit progressivegrocer.com/podcast. You can also subscribe to this series wherever you typically listen to podcasts, whether that's on Apple, Google, or Spotify. And if you have an idea for a Top Woman in Grocery podcast topic, we want to hear from you. So feel free to reach out to me at lptrack@ensembleiq.com. See you later, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. And thanks again, Kate.